to the My Tech Toolbelt podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Brenda. And this is a podcast where we highlight educators who innovate, engage, and inspire through the use of technology.
Today's episode 5, we are excited. Last time we teased on episode 4, we were back from Q, we did a little rehash, and we teased about hashtag big name. Hashtag big names episode is here
Today.
Today's podcast. It is Jon Corippo, the newly appointed executive director of Q. We sent him an email, we asked him to do an interview, and he was like, sure. We had no idea where this interview was going to take place, how long we were going to have with him. We were so excited that he even said yes, first of all, because he doesn't know us. And he was so amazing. He was so generous with his time. Tell us a little bit about Jon.
So Jon was recently named the executive director for Q, and he's also the creator of the Q Rockstar Camp series. He and his team have led and trained over 32,000 teachers in the last 2 years. And in 2016, Jon was listed on the National School Board Association's 20 to Watch list of education technology leaders.
So he's amazing.
He
so
is.
Being in a room with him blew our minds. I think our biggest regret, we didn't hit record
Yes.
the minute
He walked in.
He walked in the room, because from the second he started talking, he was just personable and fun and amazing. And by the end of the interview, our minds were blown away. He was, like I said, he was so generous with his time and his talent. His innovative ideas were fresh. It was so amazing, the amount of time he gave us, that this interview is a little longer than normal. However, we couldn't cut it. This is an uncut version.
And just the week before we interviewed him, he had just come out with his book.
He did, and I had ordered it and had it in time for Q, so there will be a picture on the website of him signing my book, and I'm like a fangirl. I'm like so excited that I'm actually reading the book now, and I'll close our podcast with kind of some of my thoughts on his EduProtocols.
Awesome.
Without further ado, here's Jon Corippo. How long had you been working with Q?
Okay, so I started visiting Q as a conference in 2006, and then I think it was around 2009 or 10, I called and I said, I want to do a conference called the Lone Nut Tech Camp, and they were like, this may not be the best name ever, so we changed it to Q Rockstar Teacher.
Love it.
Because when you hear a principal that wants to hire somebody, they say what?
Tell me what you've been doing.
I need a Rockstar Teacher.
I need a Rockstar Teacher, yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's just go ahead and camp out there.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a big fan of the energy drinks, so that's always weird, but
Okay.
that's why it's Rockstar, 2 words instead of Rockstar, 1 word. And we started doing, the first one was just to make money for my classroom. That's a pretty funny history. I was like, I bet I could make $500 if I did a camp this summer. I'll call all my friends, we'll have a little party, we'll call it a camp, and we'll stay at the casino. It'll be great. And at the end, everybody's like, when's the next one? I was like,
It caught on.
I didn't really.
Wait, there's a next one?
It'll be next summer.
Yeah.
Next summer.
Around the same
Definitely.
time.
Definitely.
Exactly. So then the next summer we did another one, and that went really good. And then I think the third or fourth summer we did 2, and then we peaked out at about 20 one year. I think we had 18 going on. So there were 2 times that 3 were stacked on top of each other.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm gonna give you a little social media trick. We use the same hashtag for all the time. So it doesn't matter if I have 10 stacked on, they're all into the same feed. So now the people in Michigan, we're seeing the same tweets as the people in California.
That's amazing.
And they were like, I could watch them on the internet. I could watch them making friendships on the internet. So that's why we're going with, we're trying to double tag this event as We Are Q, which is our all year hashtag, and then Q18. Because if you just do Q18 when the event's over, people don't, where else do I go?
Right.
So they can branch over to the all year hashtag. So
And will that We Are Q continue on?
yeah,
Forever.
That's our unified hashtag for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
Now we could morph it someday, but from now on, if somebody says, "What's this Q thing?" Once they get it into We Are Q,
Yeah.
it's all there. All the
perfect.
people, all the stuff.
That's smart.
Well, it took us about 6 months because at first we really didn't have a unified hashtag for Q. We had Q Steampunk, which was all my Steam geeky people hang out, and I had Q Rockstar for all those events. But the conference side just never really had one.
Right.
And so we ran just Q for a while, but we were getting a lot of Asian pool Q companies in our stream. So Jason said, how about We Are Q? And I was like, I don't know. Let me think on it, which meant no. And then one of our members, Dustin Ellis, pinged me and he goes, Jon, I have the perfect hashtag. We are Q. And I was like, something about a member saying this is a thing. Mm-hmm. I was like, if you like it, then I must like it. That's the deal. Yeah. So if you think it's cool, I think it's cool. And then I called Jason. He goes, I told you that like 3 months ago. And I was like, I know, but it was from you. And this time it's from a vendor. Yeah. I mean, a customer. So I like it way more through that filter. Yeah. And he's like, okay, whatever. So
it's a different lens.
Yeah, it's a different lens. Yeah. But people are it's resonating with people because Q doesn't make a product.
Right. And really doesn't. I mean, there's only one service, really, after the black label.
No.
I mean,
oh my gosh, we have so many brands. Don't get me started on that.
Oh my gosh.
We got dozens of variations of things because I treat our product line like a craft brewery. You want a Winterfest? I got that. You want a Microsoft edition? Not a problem. I just got to call Tammy Dunbar. I'll get you a Microsoft edition right now. You want all Steam? No problem. I'll call Sam Patterson and Jesus Huerta. We're good. Oh, you want to do design thinking? I'll get Laura Spencer. I can mix and match under any banner. And so it's totally agile because something that's really big now may not be a big 6 months from now. So we try to run it really loose. And then we do flat rate pricing. It's always the same price. So it doesn't matter what you buy. It's always the same price.
That's great.
And it just scales according to how many teachers.
I don't really think I knew that there was a product. I looked at my affiliation with
Well, that's because our webpage looks like 1996 stole it right now. If you liked the Spring Q website, that's what the whole thing is going to look like this spring. Okay. So it'll flow and it'll be a lot more modern. But we do Google workshops for educators.
Right, I did know that.
We do O365 workshops for the Microsoft folks. We do a black label, which is just a container, which admins love those because it's $140 a teacher per day. No hotel, no vans. We go to them, and then they can dial up whatever they want. We did a couple of really big ones up in Reading where we had one school that was all K3, and then at the other school it was all 4-6. So all the K3 people were being led by K3 teachers. And it was so cool.
Well, that's the one thing that we hear teachers kind of say is like when you talk to a K5 or even a K8
they're different animals.
Yeah, and they don't want to.
Heck, even K2 doesn't always consider third grade primary.
Right.
They'll fight about it. They'll be like, I don't know.
They do other things.
Your kids can read. Yeah. Your kids can read. So we're really primary. You're not really primary.
Yeah, it's just a really interesting dynamic there. Mm-hmm. That's great. I honestly didn't realize that there were so many
Yeah, well, we do most of it by word of mouth, and it's just kept us so busy I haven't had time to properly market it.
That's okay.
Which I'm okay with that.
I don't think doesn't sound like you need to.
Yeah, it's not a big problem. Yeah. Well, I will tell you, 2 years ago we trained 10,000 teachers, and last year we trained 22,000 teachers.
Oh my goodness.
So we're doing okay.
Wow, I think
it dipped a little bit this year because with the shifts that we were making, we took our foot off the gas on that side a little bit, and funding is getting tighter for districts too. But I think we're going to be somewhere around. We'll train about 40,000 teachers, not part of this,
right.
Separate from the Q conference and Fall Q, and Bold, and so that would be like the Rockstar camps and all that stuff. That'll be about 40,000 teachers.
Just on its own.
And then that doesn't count the fact that we do a Q chat every Tuesday night.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the Q chat will get, my personal Twitter account will get between 5 and 20,000 views on that when I host it. So it's just like the numbers are nuts.
That's amazing. It's a great organization. So
yeah, we're super happy.
That's fantastic.
So you started off as a teacher, right?
I started off as a ditch digger.
Okay. Well, maybe we don't want to go back that far.
That far. So teaching was a third career for me. Okay. I taught with an emergency credential for about 3 years. And then they made me get my credential that they were going to fire me. So I was like, okay. So it was really weird to be way ahead of the teaching classes. That was really weird. So they would be talking in my credential classes, and I'd be like, I've been doing this for 2 years. That ain't right. That doesn't work, dude. Like the popsicle stick thing, that don't work.
Equity sticks.
It sounds good. It don't work because the kids hate you for doing that. They get mad because they're like, why are you picking on me? So it was really very paradoxical to be going through the teacher credentialing program while like my second year of teaching, I got nominated for Disney Teacher of the Year. And yet I'm still in these classes about, well, got to teach vocabulary this way. And I'm like, why are you trying to put me back in the box, man?
Right.
I'm currently winning. So I just kind of zoned out on a lot of those classes because it just wasn't working.
It wasn't as progressive as you needed it to be.
Well, yeah, my whole theory is burn school down as a intellectual concept, not the school,
Right.
Because I like safe schools.
Right.
But I have a slide that says this: if blank was going to work, it would have by now.
Right. Exactly.
If giving kids 40 math problems a night was going to make us into a country of mathematicians, treat it like a science experiment.
Right.
How are we doing? Flat line.
Right. We're dead.
If making kids write 5-paragraph essays once a month was going to make us into writers, you should be able to go to a school that says, we're amazing writers because we write 1 essay a month.
I have not seen that
I
yet.
have not seen that either.
Yeah.
The facts show, from everything I've ever seen, the facts show that the school's achievement is mostly about demographics. So if you could find me a school that says, we finished the whole workbook, and that's why our scores are high, I'd buy you a present.
Right. A big present.
Yeah.
It'd be like a Maserati.
Show me a school district that says, our fidelity to the textbook has made all the difference. Having kids read The Hobbit before they start 9th grade has increased our reading scores. No, it hasn't, because they all watched the stupid movie on YouTube. They didn't read it at all. And then what happens is you become an institution based on dishonesty.
Right.
You're paper tiger, right? Have you had kids? Have you had kids crying because they didn't read and you need to sign their reading log and it's Sunday night and you sign that freaking reading log because you want them to be quiet?
Right.
You betcha.
So that's institutionalized lying.
Right.
That's when I say, you know what, maybe homework is not such a good deal.
Right.
And people say, oh, well, they need to learn to practice. Dude, you figured out in about 4 days.
Get them excited about the task
If they have an appetite for the work, you can't stop them.
Right.
But what we're training them is operant conditioning, right? Like, here's a math worksheet. 1/3 will make sense. 1/3 will have a decimal out of the blue, but you and your mom can figure it out. And then the last third's not even in the book.
Right.
And now that kid's on a moral plank. Is my dog gonna eat it?
Right.
Did my grandma die last night? And 180 days of making that decision for a kid. And we wonder why kids are jaded.
Right.
Because we put them into the movie Office Space at school.
Right. It's now school space. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that would be a good parody. So what do? Well, I pretend to get sick every day about 10:30. My mom picks me up. They give me an independent study practice. I don't do it. And watch Ellen.
Yeah.
Order some Dominoes. Play some World of Tanks. Do that for about 3 weeks. Then we have an SST. I cry a lot.
Yeah.
They tell me, just do half of them. I feel like that's a pretty good play. Right? That's what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when we started at high school at Minarets, I literally had to sit our teachers down and explain, do you understand what's happening in K-8? Because the teacher says, put your work in the turn-in box, and then I don't, and then I accuse you of stealing it or losing it.
Right.
And then pretty soon there's 25 missing assignments, and then we're in that meeting with mom, and the kid's crying, and the mom's looking at me, can't you give him some love, man?
Right.
And the kid's like, yeah, give me some love. Give me some love. I only have to do chapter 4. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they get to high school, and you're like, no.
All of it.
Right.
You just chop them right off at the feet. You're done. No empathy of any kind. Then they're like, now they feel like getting ripped off because, I made it through 8th grade. I'm getting good at the game, and then you're going to change the rules on me.
Right.
Or my favorite one is, how about the high school teacher who doesn't give you a grade at all for 7 weeks, and then boom, there's an F.
Yeah. And you didn't have any idea it was coming.
No, well, I'm assuming I'm a B.
Right.
I come to class every day. Haven't gotten in trouble.
Right.
That's the primary problem, right? If you're quiet, you get an S. I don't know what S means.
Right,
But you're quiet, so S.
Just
If
lay
you bring
low,
me cookies, you're O, baby.
under the radar, yeah.
And everybody's grade is check plus.
Right.
So what? And you know, primary folks have got to get around the head of this idea that kids can take feedback if it's not telling them they're wrong.
Right. Positive feedback.
If you're saying here's how you win, then kids can handle that. But no, if it's draconian, of course they don't need that. I don't know many 45-year-old teachers who need that either. Can you imagine your principal coming in and telling you, you're wrong, she gets a gold star, you get extra meetings. Until your scores come up, you got extra recess duty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I have a great attitude about my work, right?
Right.
So, but we expect kids to just suck it up and be fine. And I really think that what's happening right now with the mental health problems we're having with kids are the fact that kids are far more self-actualized and far more self-aware because of media and sixth graders watching Office Space, which I highly don't recommend.
No.
But when they do, they're like, oh,
That's
this is life because I'm living it at school.
Right.
So it doesn't get better.
right. And so why do I put any more effort into
Right.
this?
And then I don't think kids can articulate it, but I think they intuit that what we're doing in class every day has no impact on them having a car or living by the beach.
No.
They don't see any direct connection.
No.
Like from the graduation of high school to I have a house, there is no training of what that looks like at all.
No.
So now you have people that are quasi-suicidal because they're like,
You
Now
didn't
what?
teach. You didn't teach me that.
Right.
That's what I.
Right.
I don't know how to balance a checkbook or.
no, literally don't.
Right.
No.
Literally don't. By the way, balancing a checkbook's an old skill. We don't do that.
I know.
We don't do that anymore.
Updating my web app. Reading my expense reports. But like I said this about 2 years ago at an event where they were interviewing me. I think we should stop teaching math.
I bet that raised some eyebrows.
Oh, yeah. And then for a minute, I was like, oh, my God, John, you've done it now. But what I meant by that was the way we teach math
Right.
now.
Right.
How about this? Can everybody get an A in spreadsheets?
Probably.
Is a spreadsheet a good thing to be able to do for the rest of your life?
Absolutely.
Now, how do the worksheets factor into that process?
Not
Not so much, right? If you focused on databases, infographic creation, spreadsheet skills, and basic coding, and there's that group that says, "Well, coding's not programming." Dude, shut up.
Yeah, no.
It's a sequential,
Right.
syntactical process that demands precision. I don't care if they actually become programmers.
Right. But it's
It's better
the
than a
thinking.
worksheet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And if it doesn't work, it shows you.
And it actually goes boop and stops where
yeah,
it is.
that's where
Yeah.
it's broken,
Fix it.
right? So imagine K-12 being built for spreadsheet, database, infographic, coding. If every kid had that training, what's that look like?
Well, it's magical because I think the math is already built into each of those pieces.
Right.
So you're learning the functions.
The problem
you're
is a lot of
learning-
math teachers love their algorithms.
Right.
It's like I tell this story. I'm on a Airbus A380 two-decker plane on my way to Singapore. We're taxiing. I'm making this story up, by the way. I'm just giving you imagery. We're taxiing out from LAX, and the pilot goes, "Oh, going to be a 2-hour delay. Good news, we're going to have a Sudoku tournament." How many people don't care?
Majority, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Welcome to algorithms.
Yeah.
It's the same. Just insert algorithms. If you say, we're going to have a math contest, how many people are going to say yes? What do most people say when they meet with their
one.
counselor? How much math in this? For how long till I'm done with math?
What's the minimum amount I need to get to college?
What's the major with the least math?
Right.
That's
Just to
that's a
graduate.
meme right there.
Yeah.
So what does that say about 13 years of auditioning for something nobody wants?
That's
Right.
that's an interesting thought.
Well, this is a bad math guy looking at you.
Yeah.
We're here with you.
But once I got out of school and I was doing some air conditioning dispatcher work, and they were handing me paper worksheets over and over again, I was like, I could probably buy FileMaker and let the computer do all this for
right.
me. And I'm not making this up. The first year that I flipped us to FileMaker, we made $1 million more.
Oh my goodness.
You know why? On the paper tags, the guys were losing them.
Right, right.
And I'd be like, where's tag 3415? He's like, I don't know. Well, let me print it again.
Yeah.
So, if you I'm living what I'm professing, which is I graduated from college with pretty marginal algorithm skills. I wouldn't even say algorithm, with weak algebraic skills. I can do algorithms, right? But the question is, if you got to put a poster up in your room that says, here's where you're going to use what I'm teaching you in the real world, I believe you have lost that war at that point. Like, can you imagine an English teacher? Here's places where you'll write sentences in real life.
That's
Facebook.
not a thing. That's not a thing.
Facebook.
A real
Twitter.
sentence.
Instagram.
Maybe.
Actually, that actually starts to make sense. That's not bad because
Right.
I've done that before. I've had kids post a picture with a theme of and write a positive sentence about the picture and screenshot that to me. That's your homework tonight. I'm fine with that, right? Do I need to
absolutely.
give you 50 positive sentences to underline? I don't think I do. No. So, are there other questions?
Yes. Well, we wanted to know what your vision for Q is over the next few years.
My vision. So first of all, it's not my vision.
Our vision.
The Q strategic mission is to improve our society by improving education. And so there's kind of a ladder logic there that if you want to improve our society through education and make life better for the future students who are going to be our future adults, then you have to work with who?
Their teachers.
The teachers. And then over the last 3 years, I've had a lot of success personally by looking at that structure and saying, okay, if this is the goal, what do we got to do to get there? For a long time, Q was a layer of wacky teachers. Like back in the day, Mr. So-and-so printed a calendar.
That was crazy.
I had a one-to-one Palm Pilot classroom.
Wow.
Yeah, one-to-one Palm Pilot. And it was BYOD.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, I basically told the kids, if you'll buy a Palm Pilot and a keyboard, you can use it all you want. And when like 4 kids show up and they start typing their essays,
Than every other kid.
and then when they figured out you could put an SD card in it and put 30 songs on an SD card, they're like, what? And so when I looked at the whole landscape, I said, if I want to get more headspace for teachers, what do I need? I need bosses that get what the problem is. So when it really started opening up for us was when we started doing the Rockstar admin camps. Mm-hmm. And so what I realized was most admin training is bar chart, theory, scatter plot theory. These people have a college degree. They don't need ideas.
Right.
What do they need? They need techniques.
Yep, how to implement.
They don't know. They don't have any technique. And I was thinking of my football coaches when I was at Fresno State. They would say, what's your technique? They wouldn't yell at you what you did. They would ask you what your technique was supposed to be. And you would say, I got hooked. I got to keep my outside shoulder open. When you say to the guy you did it wrong,
That means nothing.
that's just so we designed the Rockstar admin camps around the Rockstar theory, which is you're going to make stuff. You're going to do the thing. So like if you go to a blogging session, we make you make a blog. And then we make you do a 6-word story, but it's a 6-word motto, like 6 words. What is you in 6 words? And I think one of my favorites was something like break stuff and then try again.
Right.
And so then you post just that to your blog. And then they will have you read an interesting article. Tell us 4 takeaways. 4 sentences, that's all you get. Because some administrators think blog means 20 paragraphs.
Right.
Dude, nobody wants your 20-paragraph
No.
blog. Nobody.
No.
Plus, if it's 20 paragraphs, you're going to put that off for months, which means you have no tempo. So we're teaching them, dude, no, 1 paragraph, dude, 2 paragraphs in a picture. What was your epiphany of the day? Put it there, because you know what? 6 months from now, that starts really building up. You don't wait until you got 20 paragraphs.
Right.
Because first of all, most people in the blogosphere, if they want that, they'll buy what's called a book.
Right.
They'll buy a book. I don't want your book. I want to know what this is. So we make them do that. And that was really powerful. So now principals are going back and telling their superintendents, oh my God, this is a thing. So then school districts are like, oh yeah. Well, meanwhile, I got this whole stack of rockstar teachers who are just waiting to be unleashed. So that was a big shift for us, is getting plugged into that administrative group, because we had never really targeted administrators. And we only targeted them to benefit our teachers.
Right.
Because AXA does a great job with administrators, but they've got a different headspace, which is school safety, laws, bullying. But their headspace isn't always, how do I upskill me in the context of ed tech and pedagogy. So we've slipped right into a really cool niche right there.
That's perfect. I love that space.
And that's when the explosion happened. That was when we went from 4,000 to 20,000 was when we started inserting ourselves there. And then now we do a fun one, because then I realized, okay, I need a cloistered environment for superintendents. So now we do one called Super Q, and it's for superintendents only. And we only let 25 come. and everybody has to share one thing that it will amaze the group. And they get pretty weird. Like, they're like, I don't know if this is amazing enough. And I'm like, no, it just has to be good amazing. It doesn't have to like change my life amazing, but share something that other people should know about. And like one of my favorite little ones was from David McQueen up in Lake County. They test out all software during their summer school program. So watch this. We want this SIS or this SIS. They roll one out at one school and one out at the other school. Or this reading program or this reading. So they do it 4-week burst during summer school. They interview the kids, the parents, and the teachers, and then they cross-present to each other. Here's 4 things we liked, and here's 4 things we wish it did. And the other group's going, ours does that. Ours doesn't do that. And they have a really honest conversation after live testing it. And the whole room was like, oh, wow, dude. So they just sign up for a 90-day demo, go live in summer school. Who cares about the records?
Right, because it's...
And they just take, and the whole room was like, oh,
Smart.
That is rad. Because you're going to spend a couple $1,000,000 on this stuff in some cases.
Right.
And you know this. You don't know till you start it up.
Exactly.
Because the sales manual says it does everything.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
everything disappears pretty quick. And it's easy. That disappears really quick. So.
Well, and you've got people who are trained at
Oh, yeah.
at
Your
a school
cadre's
site,
there now.
right?
Yeah.
So now you've got colleagues.
Yeah, and they've got buy-in because they're like, oh, my God, we loved this. We loved it.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a real good flip switch moment, as my friend Corey says.
So what are you hoping that teachers at this conference are taking away from this conference?
You might not be ready for this answer. I'm hoping they're taking away community. So I'm not going to say I wish they could use blah, blah, blah app better or blah, blah, blah tool better. I'm hoping that they have a sense that they're not alone and there are other people who've already gone ahead of them. And especially at Q, we are oversharers. So if you tweet somebody and say, how does that go? You're probably going to get an email with about 15 slide decks. It's going to be like, because they want to show you because they believe that what they're doing is significantly better. And that's been one of the little shifts in Q over the last 3 or 4 years too. We used to be the geeky propeller head people, but now we're turning into the pedagogy people who just slide that tech in so smooth. And that's a really much broader audience. There's a group of people that like to be crazy over the top geeky, and that's fine. But that's not the majority of teachers.
Right.
What the majority of teachers want to do is have an easier job. They want to interact with the kids more. They want a more positive classroom. Well, you're not going to have a positive classroom if 40% of your kids have Fs. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much impossible. So when your kids are learning, guess what happens to the classroom culture? Notice I didn't say grades were up. I said when your kids are learning. Because I think the most important thing to measure in schools is growth.
Absolutely.
So like that's why the whole CASP thing and Smart Amounts is all invalid to me, because the high schools will still get high scores and the low scores will try to go up 2 points. That is not a recipe. So like in the LCAP thing, the biggest score you should possibly able to get would be number 1 would be most growth, because those schools that are passing 88, 90%, they believe they're tapped out. They're like, we're good.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
We're good.
We're here.
Hey, dude, we're like 92% passing. If
Can't
you've
do
seen
much
those 4
better.
kids, we can't make them pass. But if you say you get a high rating for growing, now you're going to have schools with lots of ELs that maybe only get to 60%, but they have 30% growth.
Right.
I got that from a movie called Summer School with Mark Herman. Remember the ending scene? That this guy's only 42%, but last year was 7%. That's like 34 points.
Right.
But we don't approach it that way. We approach it this way. You're still 30 from passing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, if you can grow 40 points in 1 year, you can grow 40 points in 1 year. I've already admitted I'm not good at math, but 40 and 40 is 80%. And some kids, it takes multiple years to get there.
Sure.
And that's
But
okay.
we say you didn't pass.
Right.
We don't say you grew 40 points, because that's huge. And I have a friend who's a coach who says tackling is caring. If you don't care, you're not going to tackle very well, right? Well, standardized assessments is caring. To some degree. Mm-hmm. To some degree. That's where I have this theory. I wish they would do this. They won't because it's too simple. What if we moved the smarter balance tests down 2 grades? So now 6th grade would take a 4th grade test. But the new metric would be how many can get 100%.
Right.
Interesting.
Have you ever stood in front of a class and said, come on, you guys, we really need good scores or the governor's going to hate us. They're going to take everything. Do you know what the word reconstitute means? Or you can approach your class like this. You guys are going to rock this thing. And I think 75% of you should get 100%.
Right.
See the different shift there? And that's where the end of average comes in.
Right.
What's the big punchline in the end of average?
Oh, you're going to test me on it?
The ergodic switch.
Yeah, you got to do
Bear
it.
in mind, I'm a 2.9 student. I only read the book once, so I should not be able to do this. Right? According to their scale, I'm an idiot.
Right.
But the ergodic switch says you can't measure an individual by testing them once.
Right. You keep doing it.
So it says in the forward of the book, well, we're going to give the test to 1 million people and round it off. And that's the ergodic switch. So it says it right in the book that all of the test-making statistical people, that's their Bible. It says in the forward, this whole book's invalid. It says in the forward. Lord and Novick, 1968. But you know me, I'm just a 2.9. I have mediocre reading comprehension. According to that measure, I have mediocre reading comprehension when we're reading about princes in a castle.
Right.
If I'm reading about stuff I care about, my reading comprehension is way higher.
Absolutely.
So context, jaggedness, all that's in play now.
Yeah.
And thanks to Todd Rose for giving me the academic vocabulary, and I had to do no worksheets or word searches.
For the win.
And I was able to make this goal. Yes, I was able to score this thing right here.
That's so great.
And then I've tweeted it like crazy. I got about 20 friends that are all reading it, and they're like, this is blowing my mind. This is blowing my mind. So, yeah, that's we've got to move from the position on the assessments from you're not a good person to here's your growth.
Well, and what we tend to see in the schools that we work with is that the students who grow the most are the ones who typically are never celebrated. Because they're the lowest performing typically. And when we do interventions, blended learning, technology interventions, we tend to see those, they get the highest growth. And the kids who are high achieving, usually A's and B students, they don't see as much growth and maybe don't get
Right. Well, that's because they've settled into the game of school and they're not really interested in growing.
Right. They will, though, as soon as they see all these other kids getting.
Oh yeah. Well, when we started
celebrated.
that school that was project based, we didn't buy a lot of textbooks or workbooks, and the high flying kids were pissed.
Yes.
Because they had no social advantage in that classroom, because ideas were more important than memorizing, and they did not like it. It was very frustrating to them.
They had figured out how to play the game. Yeah.
Oh, but there's more. There is a social component to me being better than you.
Correct.
And they had lost their automatic lead, because every year they would show up to school and have an automatic lead, and it was gone. They did not like resource kids doing better videos than them. They did not like ELs busting out better slides than them. They did not like uncool kids dominating the presentation.
Right.
They were not okay with that. It was really weird, the pushback. And my co-principal, Mike Niehoff, warned me. He said, you watch, this is going to happen. Because there's this 4% of kids, and they think the school belongs to them because they've been told they're smarter.
Right.
You always get the principles.
And my point to them would be, I want you to find out where this works in real life, buddy.
Right.
Find it in real life. Because you know what? There's some guy who makes something like a dog glue, right? An igloo for dogs,
Right.
who's going to make more money than you.
That's right.
So what do you got to say about that?
Exactly.
The inventor of the dog glue is rich. I don't even know who it is. I should look it up on Wikipedia. So you go have fun with your career as a banker.
Right.
And I'll put you in a barbecue with the dog glue guy, and he can tell you a very funny story, I'll bet,
Right.
about making money.
And oftentimes we find those guys, the president of Kinko's and guys like that who.
Yep. Well, that's where if you read Good to Great. Have you read Good to Great?
Not yet.
Oh, it's
But
amazing.
It's now going to be downloaded
Yeah,
on my
no, it's
Apple.
amazing because it's about hiring practices and which managers are the best. And it turns out, okay, I'll give you one story and then we can wrap up. Lee Iacocca was actually a huge failure as a CEO because he was a persona-driven CEO. this would be a great sidebar for your teachers because the cult of personality is a problem. He was the prince in waiting to become the CEO of Ford Motor Company. He, I think, was the design chief on the Ford Mustang.
Okay.
The original one. And so he perceived himself as being, he's sitting around singing, I can't wait to be king, right? And then they snub him. They fire him. Chrysler's almost going out of business. They hired Lee Iacocca. Now, this is a good Lee Iacocca story because this is agility. He goes to his engineers and he goes, I want to bring back the convertible. And they're like, okay. We'll tell you what that's going to take on Friday. So on Friday, they bring him all these blueprints and drawings, and they say, we'll have a sample for you in 6 months. And he says, I used bad words. I don't think you understood what I meant. I want you to cut the roof off of a car, and I want to be driving it around in downtown Detroit tomorrow. I want you to cut the roof of the car off and cover the hole up with leather. I want to be driving around tomorrow. So that was awesome. I love that story. But here's where it got weird. His whole role at Chrysler was to thumb his nose at Ford.
Right.
The whole company turned into a social experiment for him. And now remember, Dodge brought out the Caravans, very square and boxy. And then the trend in minivans became to go rounded.
Right.
That's what ended Lee Iacocca. He refused to let them do a rounded van. The marketing said that's what they want. The research said that's what they want. And then here's where it hit. The sales said they don't want your vans anymore. And he wouldn't let the design team alter it. And that was the end of Lee Iacocca.
His pride.
It's fascinating because he wasn't into what the people wanted. He was still trying to beat the echo of Ford. And Ford had a rounded van, so he didn't want a rounded van.
No.
Right.
That's interesting.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
Right.
But there's great parallels for teacher leaders in there.
Right.
Right?
Listen.
So
Yes.
what I want out of this class is not a factor.
No.
Right.
It's about them. It's
What
about
I want out of this class is for you to feel like you can roll in on life and kick its butt. And I don't get there by dominating you.
Right.
Things evolve
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. And that was when I left. The reason I started the high school is because I was getting my kids who were marginal academic kids really patched up and really healthy and really comfortable and being themselves in 6th and 7th grade. And they would go to high school, and by the time they were sophomore, they were a wreck again. And I was like, do I have to keep putting Mr. Potato Head back together? Like, why am I shipping off my projects and you're taking my Frankenstein back apart?
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to go work at a high school for a while and find out what's going on over there. And the problem is that we don't give the kids feedback. And we tell them, you're almost an adult, so act like it. And we don't give them grades for 3 weeks and then tell them they're a bad person at the end. And just do really weird stuff. I mean, just really weird stuff. I know of a friend who's a superintendent. Her kid was at a private school to remain nameless, and I will not mention the denomination, but I'm winking at you. And the teacher started off her English class by saying, nobody will get an A. And one of the kids said, on what? And she said, at all.
Oh. I think I know how I'd react in that class.
And then the student said, when you say that, do you mean it's really hard? And she said, nobody in this class gets an A because I'm that strict. And so my friend, the superintendent, went to the principal and said, do you want me to evaluate you on this? Because you're not going to get an A. But when you go in with that affect,
Right. That's
and she thinks I guarantee you that teacher goes to parties on the weekends and says, I love teaching.
right. Oh yeah, it's the best.
The kids are great.
They love me.
Yeah, they love
they
me
work
because
really
you've
hard.
trained them a la John Taylor Gatto. You have programmed me that when you tell me I'm a great teacher, your grades go up. That's not healthy.
No.
And that's part of the mental health crisis.
Yeah.
Is you're asking kids to be bipolar right in front of you. Do you love me? I do.
Yeah.
It's like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
It's really creepy. So you've got to pull you back. And then what, like you mentioned, the EduProtocol's book earlier, we were talking about it, but the real hidden sauce there is the class is about what the kids are doing. And personality doesn't scale.
Right.
I can't train you to be Robin Williams, dude.
No.
So I better not count on you being Robin Williams.
There's no Dead Poet Society here.
Yeah. Or Mark Harmon.
Right. Right.
or Jack Black
Right.
or any of them.
Right.
What determines the success of the class is the work that the kids do. So me being an orator or a Pied Piper is irrelevant
Right.
because you can't scale it.
Well, that was the last thing we wanted to talk to you about was
Scaling?
your book. Your book. You mentioned it.
I have a good descaler joke.
Yes.
No.
So this just came out.
Yeah, last Sunday.
Yeah, and I ordered it immediately on
Wow.
Amazon.
And thank you, because we hit #1 bestseller in education
Really?
on Wednesday.
So it came
3 days.
Wow.
I have no idea. I don't even have stats. Like, I don't even know. I just keep getting pictures from my co-author. She's like, "What is the deal?
Yes.
Check this out." So that's all I know at this point.
I was so excited because it came Wednesday, which we left Wednesday night to get here, so I had to run by the mailbox and pick it up. So I was so excited. But I wanted you to, just talk about it, give a little snippet. We want to give a shout out to teachers and hopefully.
So basically, we were very purposeful about naming it the Field Guide, because it's not meant to be a book, right? And there's 16 of the student-centered lesson frames in there, which work at all grade levels, which work in college, which work for people not in school, right? Because nobody ever says, I think I want to brew beer. I'm going to head over to the teacher supply store
Right.
and get me some worksheets on brewing beer, and then I'm going to go to some lectures, probably a semester's worth. And then I will try brewing beer sometime after Christmas,
Right.
because I need to learn the vocabulary. Really, I need to learn the academic language of brewing beer. Or do you watch a YouTube video and head to the beer brewing supply and proceed to bust out 3 to 5 horrible batches
Right.
of beer?
Yep.
You learn what not to do.
Yeah. But in class, it's like no mistakes.
Right.
Whereas I'm also a huge fan of Bob Ross, right? Like, that's a mountain.
Right.
It's a happy little mountain. And the mountain has a cloud over it because my paintbrush touched the oil in the wrong place, right? Happy little birds. But that's what the affect that we need to bring to class, which is building to strengths and personal interaction and what you can do. So the idea is that people, instead of one more scenario that's in the book. If you're a chef, do you have 365 breakfasts, like signature breakfasts? No, it'd be impossible.
No.
Right.
So if you're a teacher, do you need 180 worksheets?
I hope not.
Oh, there's people that think you need 200 worksheets.
Yeah. Ugh.
So here's the deal. The framework, the idea is that if you do this thing every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and this thing every Tuesday, Thursday, and this thing every Wednesday afternoon and Friday afternoon, pretty soon you've built a perfect practice schedule, just like in sports. Like, can you imagine a sports team where you practice one thing and then never again? No. Your performance would tank, right? If you're a swimmer or a soccer person, there's a routine to practice. And then it morphs, right? And it changes, but you know what the task is, so your muscle memory kicks in. But what we do to kids is we give them a different worksheet every day, and then they don't know what to do every day. And after a while, they're like, I must be an idiot. Because every day I come to work and I have no idea what we're doing.
It's a surprise.
So I'm just going to surrender to being an idiot. I don't know. And then kids get to 7th and 8th grade, they're so beaten down. And the 7th and 8th grade teachers, I can still remember the freshman assembly in high school where I learned the word apathy from my principal yelling at us that we were apathetic. And I was like, I didn't even know that was a word till right now. But if this describes how I'm feeling,
Okay.
thank you. All right. I didn't even need a worksheet in this case.
Is it bad?
Yeah. So the context is having packages that you do once a week all year, 3 times a week for a quarter, every day for 5 weeks, and then you just change up the packages. I will give one of my favorite non-me examples is Lisa Nowakowski does one in there called Math Reps. And the classic way we do math is this: division, short division, long division, division with 1 decimal, 1 week each, right? 1 week each. Scientific notation, why? I don't know. The book says to.
No, we're following the text.
Factor tree, I don't know, but it says to. But there's about, let's say 10 or 12 operations around division. What Lisa did was put all of those on a single graphic organizer.
Wow.
And then you do the same work every day for about 4 weeks. 5 weeks. Think how many reps you're getting. But you're also seeing patterns, because like one of it says, here's the number of the day she picks, 1/10 less, 1/100th less. Sorry, I need to reframe that. Here's the number of the day as a whole number. Give me 1/10 of that number. Well, what do you use to move the decimal? Give me 100th, you move the decimal twice. Add together 1/10 of 100th.
Big.
Right? And then like on division, she's got division, algorithm, division, area model. I'll just teach you both at the same time.
Why not?
And then right here is scientific notation, but we're only working with how many numbers?
Just one.
So if the number of the day is 84, I have 8.4, 0.84, 8.4 plus 8.4. See how easy this is? It just starts boom, 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 boom. So Lisa said the first day that she does she's got about 5 per grade level. That's the whole year. 5 or 6 per grade level. You do each one for 4 or 5 weeks. She said the first day takes about an hour. They're mostly copying off her. By the end of the first week, her 5th graders are down to 10 minutes.
Wow.
So what's your mental health on that? I know math.
Right. And
I
I'm
can
good
bust
at
it out.
Yeah.
I can go faster.
Yeah.
Instead of, well, if I can gut out unlike fractions with a D and hang on, I'll make it to the semester with a C+.
If I'm lucky.
That's a weird way of calculating success, where she's got them doing 8 or 10 skills every day, faster and faster and faster.
Seeing the
And then what grade level's that?
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So if it's 3rd grade, I just pull a couple off the shelf for now, but maybe on week 3, here's scientific notation.
Right.
So I just pull it back. If it's high school, a more calculus approach, right? And but the concept's the same. I'm going to do 10 or 12 operators every day for 3 or 4 weeks. And what the kids mental health wise are like, it's faster and it's faster,
Right.
and I'm passing. So for homework, she'll let them pick a number.
And play with it.
Yeah, pick your number. I don't really care.
Right.
Because I can do 1/10, 100th. I can do that pretty fast. I'm an adult. For them, they're like,
Right.
Right, because now it becomes muscle memory.
Right. And then this is the chef part. So then another friend of mine, Christine Pinto, pops in, and she's doing, she made a self-correcting Google worksheet.
Huh.
So when you're putting your numbers in, it turns green and red if your number's right.
That's amazing.
So that's pretty easy too, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
The kids can see it. That's
Yeah.
very visual.
yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for all of your time today. That
You're
was
welcome.
amazing. I just could stay here and just
It was fun getting to know you guys.
Yeah.
Chat all day long.
chat all day long because there's so much. But we're so excited. We can't wait to come back next year. We already tried to book our hotel and they said no.
No.
We have to wait.
Well, we haven't picked the dates yet, so it's really weird.
I was just going to book a whole week.
All
It just-
month, all March.
Well, and then don't forget there's Fall Q. And then where are you guys geographically located?
We're in Los Angeles.
Okay, well, there's Bold coming up too, which
Okay.
is 2-day event, deep dive on lesson design.
Okay.
And you'll like this. All the sessions are based on Madeline Hunter's 7 elements.
Okay.
So wait, dig this. Every slide uses the same template. So same font says modeling, guided practice. It's the same font, same look. So because we're doing Madeline Hunter remix,
Okay.
because the common misconception is you do them in a certain order.
Right.
So we're changing the order
And you should still be able to get the same.
and combining. Maybe sometimes guided practice and modelings happen at the same time, like in Minecraft.
Right.
So in some cases, they're combining 2 or 3 of the elements, and it's a really fun thing. It's like $199 for 2 days.
Okay. We're in.
And we do 40 lessons like that. And when you take the slides, you have the complete 7-element lesson plan ready to go.
Nice.
And we give all the slides away. So it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Excellent.
We'll
When
be-
is this?
May 5th and 6th.
In?
Laguna Beach. It's horrible there,
Oh,
too.
yeah.
It's
Wow.
horrific. Yeah, it's
Make
horrible.
us suffer.
Yeah.
And then we also are going to do extreme classroom makeovers in 2 classrooms, and then teach in a flexible classroom furniture in a classroom.
Okay.
So you can also see that, because one of my terrifying points is when people do cemetery style seating, right? And you spend $30,000 on furniture and it's still lined up in rows.
I've never heard it called cemetery
I-
style.
I-
I'm gonna start using.
Yeah,
that.
I got that. I think I saw that from Tom Murray first, but cemetery style seating, right? Because nothing's more exciting than the cemetery. So, but there are teachers that do things like, and I love the executive function part of this. Set up the classroom for lecture. Set up the classroom for discussion. Set up the classroom for collaboration, and the kids move the desks.
Right. They know what.
Set up the classroom for craft. Whatever your get down is, the kids are like, they turn into Oompa Loompas.
Right.
And so I guess you could see that as regimentation, but I also see it as there's again certain mental health of knowing
Right.
we're setting up the classroom for this scenario,
Right.
and I know what to do.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
And people in the military like regimentation, but school hates regimentation unless it's their idea of regimentation.
Right.
Like, I love this one, and we can end with this. I love the one where the kids and I helped develop our class rules.
Together.
Sure we did.
Yeah.
Because all third graders are like, I should keep my hands to myself. Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you were thinking that. I should wipe my feet before I come in. What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, mind-blowing. Yeah, these kids are amazing this year. It's the best class ever. That's the most suckiest up class ever is what that is. In my classroom, I had one rule. Do the right thing at the right time. And if you weren't sure, ask before you do it. And then I would look over kids and I would say this, are you supposed to be doing that right now? And they would say, well, yeah, because we're making our video. Well, keep going.
Yeah.
Are you supposed to be standing on the desk? Yeah, I need this video shot, man. Okay. But there's this different verbiage from you're breaking rule 37 in the Harry Wong book of rule breaking is very different than, is that what you're supposed to be doing right now? Did you hear the approach?
Well, and then justify to me.
Right.
The answer is
let's
yes.
Let's bargain.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
That's pretty cool. We should do this every Wednesday.
Yeah.
I didn't know that could be a thing. Now, that's empowerment.
Right.
But I'm not giving away the power because I got a kid running in class. Are you supposed to be doing that right now? No, I'm not. I'm not supposed to be doing that right now.
Right.
So there's this, and I don't say you're wrong. I say, are you supposed to be doing that right now?
Well, you're changing the dynamic. Mm-hmm. You're changing
and it's
the
amazing to
conversation.
see what happens when you change the phrasing.
It is.
And okay, so last one. Have you seen the movie The Stanford Experiment? The Stanford Experiment?
No.
Okay, so this is a real thing. The movie's dramatized, and they talk about it in The Tipping Point. Gladwell does. So at Stanford, they took a certain number of grad students, and they told them, you're guards. You're inmates. And they put them in rooms without doors, and they had to shut the experiment down after 3 days. Because the guards, even though the guards knew that no crime had been committed, they began interrogating the prisoners who had committed no crime.
Right.
And were charged with no crime. You know why? Because that's what guards do. And you know what the prisoners started doing? They started developing a subculture to hide their activities from the guards. They had to shut it down in 3 days.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, it's a real thing. The movie, I think, is a little dramatized.
Right.
Well, because it had to be a movie, right?
Right.
So here's my takeaway. If I act like a teacher,
right,
you're going to respond like a student. So in my classroom, I'm always trying to be the least possible teacher I can because it disorients kids. They don't know what to do with it. And then when you add, is that what you're supposed to be doing right now, approach to that, everything changes.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's so simple. But you got to read outside of education.
Right.
That's another place where teachers mess up, which is weird because now I'm an educational author. But I'm telling you, you have to read outside of education.
Well, I think you do. I think
But you do.
there's a lot we can learn from other spaces.
Now you guys teach a class.
I do.
One of the books you should use for sure is Think Like a Freak.
Oh.
It's the hidden side of everything. It's learning about the law of unintended consequences. Think Like a Freak is the third one, but it's the shortest.
Okay.
Freakonomics is rad.
Okay.
Super Freakonomics is rad, but Think Like a Freak is where they pull it all together.
Okay.
So it'll be out of sequence if you read the third one, but I think it's only maybe 120 pages. So that's like really honestly, that's 2 weekend read.
Yeah,
It's not a big read. But they take you through the processes that are involved. So my favorite Freakonomics story is in Israel they have free daycare, government supplied free daycare. And parents were coming in 1 or 2 minutes late, and it drove them so nuts that they decided to charge you $1 a minute for being late. Guess what happened?
No one was late?
Kids were later than ever.
I was going to say, they're still late.
No guilt. I'm paying you.
Yeah.
I'll get here whenever I want.
Right.
I think I want to go to a movie.
Yeah.
I'll pay you $11.
That's cheap.
Whatever it is,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So they didn't realize that by doing that, I was removing my guilt from being late.
Right.
Before, it was an interaction we were having between two people.
Right.
Now I'm paying you. Here's your $5, bro.
Right.
But I had some Starbucks. So.
Right. I got my coffee.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're
for
super
this,
welcome.
For this week.
Thanks for reaching out.
Thank you for all that you and your team do. For
You're going to have to make this into like a 9-part series if nobody listens to it.
That's okay.
That's okay. We can do it.
Okay.
Well, thanks for all of your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to have folks that are doing what you're doing, working with pre-service teachers, digging in at this level. Because you could see the love and the passion. And if all teachers were teaching in that same zone, we'd have a different planet. I mean, really, honestly, it would be a different place.
Well, I can't wait to bring my daughter who's studying education here next year. Because she's in college, so I've just decided that right now. I'm talking to you.
You take her to Bold. That will blow her mind. That will blow. She'll come away with 40 lesson plans. We were at Bold. Last year we were doing a lesson panel, so it was Matt Miller, and Cosma, and Corey Orlando custom making Madeline Hunter style lesson plans, and we had a first grade teacher and an 11th grade teacher that were both going, this is the best lesson ever.
That's so great.
Off that same flow.
Right. Because
the flow.
It shouldn't matter.
Right. The flow is what matters, right?
Yeah.
So it was amazing to watch a first grade teacher and an 11th grade teacher geeking on the same lesson. They're like,
because usually they feel like they can't do that.
Well, yeah, because we're different. We're very different.
Yeah, we're teaching different people. We're teaching different. Yeah, so it's not the same subject.
Right. If Applebee's people and Fleming's people can get along, why can't primary and high school get along? It's all food.
Well, thanks so much.
You're super welcome. I'm going to shut up now.
No,
I've got to.
Never do that.
I just missed my whole nap, but it's okay.
Sorry. Thank you so much.
There's always tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We hope you had as much fun listening to that interview as we had recording it. It was so fun. If you want to know more about Jon's book, EduProtocols, the Fieldwork Guide, you can find the links on our website and
our show notes.
So check that out there. I'm in the middle of reading the book now. It's amazing. It's phenomenal. And I will most likely be integrating it into my courses that I teach teachers in the fall.
That's awesome.
It's so great. So a couple last closing things. We will be at ISTE in June, the end of June 2018. It's in Chicago this year.
And if you're going, let us know. We would love to meet up with you guys.
Yeah, we want to, or maybe we want to interview.
Absolutely.
Maybe we want to do like a little man on the street, Brenda on the street. You never know. That sounds bad. But anyways, you know what I mean. Just, meet the people. I applied to be a volunteer there, so I might be volunteering. You might run into me, but come say hi. We're so excited. If you enjoyed this episode,
yes, please.
Tell a friend.
And subscribe.
Share it. Get us trending on Twitter.
Oh, we would love that.
And
if you feel so inclined after listening to our show, kindly leave us a rating and review.
Please.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah, we do. We really do. There's great teachers out there. We've got new episodes coming up. We're excited about them. We have one last question for you. What's in your
Tech Toolbelt? And we're out.